Having employees has pushed me into debt and made me millions. Here is a brutally honest breakdown of the business model most people accidentally fall into. Because most small business owners don't choose a business model, they just end up with one. They start by taking clients, then they get really busy, they start making some money, and before they know it, they've built something that kind of works, but also kind of doesn't. And they can't quite figure out why they're exhausted all the time and never quite ahead financially. And the answer is almost always in the model, not in the effort. And the model most people accidentally fall into is not the one that's going to get them where they want to go. So, this is part one of a three-part series where I'm going to break down three business models that I have personally run multiple times each over the last 15 years with real numbers, real mistakes, and real results. Because I think most people are operating in one of these three without fully understanding what each requires, why it might be working against them, or what it would actually take to make them work. Today, we're going to talk about the employee model. Now, I've had two businesses with employees. One nearly destroyed us financially, and the other made us millions. And the difference between them had absolutely nothing to do with the quality of the people that I hired. The first time, I ended up in $40,000 of debt. This was 2013, and my husband Steve and I were running our branding agency together, just the two of us. We were really busy. I was networking constantly. I was chasing leads, managing client communication, chasing payments, handling all the invoicing, all the client management, and Steve was doing all of the creative work. And we were generating more than enough money. And the second we had some breathing room, we thought, well, we could use some help. This is the time. So we hired two people. We hired a mini Steve and a mini Pia. That's what I thought would solve things. Surely, if we both had a mini us, they could just take stuff off our plate and then everything would be easy and wonderful. Well, what actually happened was that our overhead went up, our schedule got more rigid. Suddenly we had to be in the office because two people were showing up at, 9 o'clock every morning. And instead of having work taken off our plate, we just ended up with a lot of different work. Now we were partially doing our jobs and we were partially managing other people doing their jobs. And it didn't ever feel like more freedom. It actually felt like we had more to do. And about a year and a half after we hired those two employees, we found ourselves in $40,000 of debt. Now we had doubled our team and we ended up operating at a deficit. And when I finally had to sit with the reality that I had to let them go, I got very clear on something that nobody told me, which is that a business with employees is a completely different machine to run than a solo business. It requires a different offer structure, different profit margins, different systems, and a much tighter and more reliable lead generation process. And we had none of those things when we hired them. So we just had more people. The problem was the model. So here's what I have found that an employee-based business actually requires. Running a team-based service business isn't just running your solo business, but with more people involved. The whole machine has to be built differently. Your offers need to be priced at a level where the profit margin can more than support the salaries, not just cover them. Your systems need to be so tight that work gets done at the right quality level without you hovering over everyone, and you can rely on it. And your lead generation needs to be reliable enough that you always have enough revenue coming in to cover your overhead, because that overhead doesn't pause when the clients slow down. Now, retainer clients, which I'm generally against for solo business owners, retainer clients suddenly make a lot of sense when you have employees. They're delivering the work, and retainers can create that baseline revenue that covers salaries. And then when you get them, you're not the one grinding out the work every month. The math just looks completely different when you're not the one delivering the work. But the mistake most people make, which is the mistake that I made in 2013, is that they hire people to solve problems that the people they're hiring can't actually solve. So I was solving the problem of feeling totally overworked and overwhelmed. And overwhelming workload is actually usually a pricing and profit and systems problem. It's not a problem of too much work. So adding people into that model that wasn't profitable enough to sustain them, it just created a bigger version of the same problem, a more expensive version of it. So here's what I did differently the second time around. After 2013, Steve and I let the employees go. We rebuilt our business as a lean two-person operation. We redesigned everything around a completely different business model. And within a year, we went from $40,000 in debt to $500,000 in revenue. And I'll break down exactly how we did that in part 3 of this series. We ran that very profitable, intentionally small employee-less business for years. And it wasn't until 2021 that I decided to revisit the employee model again. And this time I wanted to build no BS mastery. training and coaching business that would support other expert-based business owners and teach them how to implement this very profitable solo model that we had built. That training business required a team. There was just no way for me to serve large groups of people at a very high level without also having support myself. Except this time, I went into that business with both eyes open. I knew that I was going to have to learn how to be a manager. I knew that it was going to be a huge new kind of challenge. I knew I would make many expensive mistakes and that things were going to blow up in my face along the way, and that some of the people I would hire were not going to work out. And so I mentally prepared for all of that because I had the enormous benefit of having failed at this before and knowing, at the very least, that I just knew so little. There was so much I just didn't know the first time around. It has been hard, and I am definitely still learning, but I've also made millions that I could not have made alone if I had been doing this solo. And I've also had a lot of seasons of very lovely work-life balance along the way. For example, in this new employee-based business, I have taken the entire summer off for the last 4 years, only working about a day and a half a week. That would not have been possible alone in this particular business. But that doesn't mean that it's a set it and forget it kind of business. Like in any business, you always have to be learning and growing and adjusting as the market shifts. And after last summer, I ended up in a large investment period in the last fall and winter. And I was working harder than usual during that time. Because when you have a team, you can check out for chunks of time, but it's never permanent. But for me, the difference between failing and succeeding at this team-based model is just going in, knowing what you're actually signing up for and having the runway to support it. So here are the quick pros and cons. The upside of the employee model when it works is really attractive, right? Like other people are doing the work. The business can theoretically run without you. You can scale in ways that simply aren't available to you when you're the only one delivering. The downside, though, is that getting there is genuinely difficult and takes longer than I think anyone tells you. Even multi-million-dollar businesses with experienced founders will struggle with team management, quality control, and consistent delivery. You lose agility. When you're a solo operator, you can change everything in your business overnight. But when you have a team, you're driving a much larger ship, and turning that ship is going to take time. So in a world where markets are shifting faster than ever, that is a really important thing to understand. And then there's the human element. Your business is at the whim of other people's lives and health and family situations. If you care about the people who work for you, which I do, then you're going to support them when things get hard. And sometimes that support is going to cost you in ways that you didn't plan for. So you have to go in knowing that. Now, none of this is to say, don't do it. I'm doing it. But just go into an employee-based business knowing that it actually requires and what it promises. Now, here's what I want to leave you with before next week. Both times that I built an employee-based business, I was able to do it because I had first built a very profitable solo business. The first time, even though I wasn't ready and it blew up in my face, we were still really small and we could pivot easily. As soon as we let our employees go, we were out of debt within months. The second time around, I had this large runway of cash to use while I figured it out. I had years of profit and breathing room from our solo business to fund the whole ramp up of this new business. If you want to build a team, I still recommend starting solo. Even if staying solo isn't the goal, a profitable solo business is going to give you the time and the money and the mental space to build the next thing correctly instead of out of desperation. Next week in part 2, I'm going to break down the second business model that I've run multiple times, the digital products model. Everything I learned from building one from scratch, including the year that I spent an entire year and $10,000 on Facebook ads before I made a single sale. And then in part 3, I will break down the model that I believe every expert service business should start with, regardless of where they ultimately want to go. If you don't want to wait and you want to start building that foundation now, go get on the waitlist for No BS Mastery at nobsmastery.com/program. And if you want to check out my latest book, Scale Solo, for experts who want to profit more, deliver faster, and cut the BS, it is available anywhere you buy books or go to scalesolobook.com.